And welcome to the Powerful Women podcast. And I want to extend a special welcome to anyone that's new to the podcast, new to the group, new to me, new to Mia, and anyone that's struggling today, because you're definitely in the right place. You're going to hear some nuggets, some wisdom, some insights which might spark something for you. And with that said, what I would invite you to do is just to listen for the similarities between us and ignore the differences, and that's how you're going to get the most out of this. So I'm Andrea from Dominant Mindset Coaching. Some people know me as Megara. I was a dominatrix for 12 years. I was an alcoholic for a good bit of that. And now I'm a confidence coach, and I help people to turn setbacks into personal power. And today with me, I have one of my very old good friends, Mia. And Mia, do you want to just introduce yourself and tell us a wee bit about you, who you are, what is it you do, and just let us know who you are in the world?
Hi, yeah, thank you so much. Hello, everybody. And thank you for joining us today. As you said, I know you as Megara. My brain is adjusting to Andrea. It's working. I'm getting there. I might stumble. But yeah, my name's Mia. My other stage name as a tattoo artist is H-Bomb, so that's coming up as well. So I've known you, for a little while. I'm a practicing dominatrix. I work in the southwest of England and in Wales. I have a studio in the southwest of Wales. And my online name is BDSMMIA. I mainly work in sessions with people directly, so interpersonal sessions. And then I do a little bit of online as well. And everything that we've talked about, we've got to know each other online. We've never yet met in person. It's insane. But we've talked so much personally and professionally. And I've always really, really enjoyed everything that you have to say. And I'm really glad you invited me on here today. And it's been a brilliant day leading up to it. So I'm really excited.
Oh, thanks so much. And you mentioned tattooing. So that's something that I never even knew about. You tell me more about that.
Yeah, it's just back in the day. I went to university to do, it's a long story. I went from law to deciding to do a visual arts degree because I realized my passion was tattooing. I went through a long journey of doing tattoo art, lots of visual art around that, and then got into the job, started managing a tattoo shop, and duly got to do tattooing and hated it. So I left. And but I've still been in the world. I've done a lot of t-shirt designing in it, and I still very much love that whole scene. And it seems to run congruent with what I'm doing now. So yeah, all these different names.
Every single dom I think I know has a tattoo of some form. Like it seems to be just in that kind of space, isn't it? So amazing. So the question that I always ask everybody to kick things off is, what do you think makes a woman powerful?
This has been brilliant. And I said to you, there's a couple of questions that I'm not afraid to answer. I'm kind of an open book, really. But this was a hard one to answer. Like, what makes a woman powerful? The way my brain's set up, I see such different things in different people. And then I was like, well, the best way to answer that is what do I think makes me powerful? So I put everyone on the spot today and sent them a really awkward WhatsApp voicemail saying, hi guys, I hate to interrupt your Tuesday, but what makes me powerful in your eyes? And they're like, oh, hi. Yeah. How are you doing? But we were talking about, and the one thing that sprang to mind consistently with me was being open to learning and the acquisition of knowledge and being open to that. That seemed to be the main thing that I think makes anyone, but particularly women, powerful.
I love that. And, it reminds me of something that I heard recently, and they said that all of your power lies in the I don't know. Being able to say, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. And just being okay with that, surrendering to, I don't know fucking shit. And
and with a smile as well, being I've no fucking idea. Yeah, wow. Yeah. And tell me, and then enjoying that, and that's great. That's really powerful stance to be in. Yeah.
Yeah, so being able to say that and then being like, nothing bad happened. I'm still standing. I'm still as tall as I was. Like,
that's cool. And I think that was particularly a female power thing, and that sort of, I don't really believe in like feminine energy, but I think women that I know and the way that we communicate, and I'll always happily go into this with like language and men and women and like the traditional standards that we have, which seems to be changing. But women particularly seem in a better position to be able to say, I don't know, and that's okay. And not to be deemed stupid anymore because we don't know, but that to be a powerful stance to go, I'm fine with not knowing. I will learn something, and that's cool. And I respect that with someone as well. Someone who you can say, how does this work? And they go, I'm not a clue. Like, let's find out. Like, or can you show me? I love that.
And the minute you say, I don't know, the possibilities just go, like your whole world opens up. And
like you say as well, nothing bad happens. Like the worst that somebody's going to do is laugh and point, but they don't know either. So that's okay. And you're not going to run into something you don't know and overcommit yourself. And I think I had to learn that. It was something I definitely have to learn. And now I do it gleefully, like, not a fucking clue. Let's find out.
No idea. But then like you've got that opportunity to get so curious about life and get curious about what can I learn here? I love that. That's so cool. So what's something that you've had to maybe struggle through or get through that has had you come out of the other side more powerful?
So I mean, keeping Tuesday light, I was thinking about this a lot. This is the one that, like, you know, the dark night of the soul was keeping me awake. And I was like, what is it that's made me feel power, like recently, or like what's encompassed a big change? And I thought about it, and a lot of people who know me from social media have seen my struggle with COVID, which I got right at the beginning of this sort of pandemic came about, and just the whole now suffering with long COVID, and the whole battle with even talking about that has been a big journey. That's been a big process that I've had to go through and still going through. But in fact, when I really thought about it, when I really sat down and thought about it, what has been something that has made me powerful in myself recently and has massively changed me and like consciously given me more power, like it's palpable around me, and everyone else said it as well, was actually after, in my late 30s, falling in love for the first time, and subsequently that relationship ending. So it was this amazing thing, and I think it's something that we don't talk about, or we crush underneath, and we talk about other things that level out that surface. But I think particularly as successful career women, we're not encouraged to talk about love and relationships and the successes and failures of that and how that affects us. But I'm also finding it really powerful to talk about these days and to address with other people that you can be, you know, you can be a CEO if you like, but your relationships, your feelings and stuff are always going to impact you. And it's the big thing. It's the human thing, love, relationships and stuff. And going through that, like, has made me ironically more powerful. Heartbreak made me more powerful.
Yeah, I mean, that adversity shapes us, and it can either crush us or it can be the making of us. And I don't care how successful you are, how much money you've got in the bank, or what position you're in a company. If you get dumped, you're going to cry. Like, it's a great leveler, and love is what it boils down to.
Yeah, and knowing, and you know, from working in this world, we come into contact with CEOs, we come into contact regularly with powerful men, women, couples, and they walk in, and, you know, we're the great leveler at the first. You know, I always say, I'm the weapon, it's not the place. I need that on a t-shirt, man. I am the weapon. I quite like that. I like that, but also that, you know, when it comes down to it, these desires, these needs, all this weird stuff we have going on is often about love and relationships and acceptance and real basic core level stuff. And what I talk about a lot in my sessions and with my longer term clients is vulnerability training. And what I didn't realize all this time, and why I thank this job, and I'm so grateful for this job for what it's done for me personally at this stage, is that it's taught me to learn my own bloody lessons. Talking about all this stuff. Somebody said to me the other week, learning intensely about syndromes and psychology and conditions and ways of being is sometimes a way of protecting yourself from feeling stuff. Like, you'll go away and go, what's a narcissist? Without investigating why you need to know that and why you might be part of that. So I looked away and realized that I haven't been able to be vulnerable all this time. And when I fell in love, I was. And it was scary. And I had to learn a lot about myself. And then when it ended, I had to regroup all that again and go, well, who the fuck am I now? Like, after all this. and how am I going to get up? And like, am I ever going to love again? And all this. And I'm joking about it, but I really thought all that stuff. And meantime, you know, I'm getting up, living my life, doing my photo shoots, teaching people, you know, stamping on someone's nuts for money. And in my brain's going, you're really going to have to address this stuff, because you can't heal anyone else unless you know what's going on with you.
So what was that point of like, right, enough's enough, I'm gonna go do that? What was the turning point for you?
What, when I decided to learn about sort of the vulnerability of it and stuff?
To go and then start looking at, right, I need to deal with this stuff. Like, what was that turning point for you? When did you decide?
It's funny, and that's what I've said today has been quite a lead up to it. My friends are like, oh, I thought I'm gonna have a quiet day with you, but no, also more depth, here she goes. I was like, well, and I talked to my wonderful friend Niera Sky, who does a lot of online work and stuff.
I love Niera.
Oh, don't we love Niera? She's
we
amazing.
Love Niera.
She can't watch us right now because she's off doing all her stuff. But,
I need Niera on here. I need her on here.
Do oh my goodness! Everyone needs Niera, like just for 10 minutes in your day.
Everyone needs a Niera. So we need you need to help me get her on here. She needs to.
I will. We won't have to drag her. She absolutely loves you, and she thinks this is great. And she's, my goodness, what about? I mean, the times I've worked with her, what a barrel of laughs this studio has been. Start to finish, absolutely pissing ourselves. She's great.
The times where I've just needed to reach out to somebody and talk to them, and she's reached out to me, and we've just got each other through things. It's been happening. Like when it felt like the whole of fucking Twitter was on fire, and you're just like keeping the head with each other. It was invaluable what I got from you as well. Like I remember it's been a few times where we've just been there for each other and just confided and just been like, it's a safe space. Whatever we say to each other doesn't go anywhere. And I love that about that. And that's one of the things that I really miss about being in that community, is because, you know, being a coach, although there's loads of other coaches and stuff like that, I'm still finding my way in it. Whereas, you know, when I was a dom, I was in it for 12 years. Like I had all my pals and it was like massive change.
What was your tagline? That dom off the telly?
That dom off the telly. I'm still on the telly. I was on, and I did a thing with Channel 4 recently, so it's out at the end of the month.
Oh wow!
Talking about a dom's experience of dating, or a dom's guide to dating, but I'm doing it from the perspective of dating in the industry and then dating afterwards. What's it like once you leave? Because no one's talking about that.
No. I think I saw Eva O. You Will Serve Me online. I think she'd done a Q&A and that had come up, and I was really like, because it's this huge thing that Niera and I have talked about as well, is about this stuff, love, and like we've talked about it briefly as well, and that's what my sort of experiences. And I certainly reached out for you for guidance, and it was invaluable, like in a very deep way. It was, and delivered with, you know, humor and also. Well, I think the point, what you were saying about the point that I got to was, and it was something I was talking to you about, was me going, how much more of this stuff do I put up with? And we all talk about boundaries. Everyone loves to talk about boundaries now and what they mean and what they are. But until you actually do it, until you go, hang on, what boundaries do I need to do and why? And my boundaries may not be the same as somebody else's. And talking to your dom sisters, talking to like yourself, Niera, my friends, Niera and I kind of bonded over adversity that we both shared. And it was really good that like reaching a point and having those people around me was invaluable. But they also reminded me that I'd done it as well. So it was time to go, right, I need to listen to, like, what am I telling them that's so great? Why am I not doing it for myself? Surely I should know, right?
Yeah. Amazing. And so what would you say are the lessons that you've took from that experience, like the big takeaways for you?
I think definitely that well, it's like going what we said before, that vulnerability. There's nothing frightening about saying I don't know. There's nothing frightening about I don't know how to deal with this. and asking someone else. I'm a big one of saying, you know, really do learn from your elders. And those elders are not always older than you. They can be people who just know more stuff about the world. I always say, you know, you can travel to the end of your street and gain more world knowledge from one person that you talk to than 10 years of traveling around the planet. If you're not open to it, like learn from other people, like proactively go away and take it on, listen to them. So vulnerability, listening, being open to that, but also, yeah, boundaries, knowing what you want, like not just from other people, but knowing what you want for you. Like that's a big thing. And that was a huge question at sort of 38 to go, oh no idea. Not a clue.
And that reminds me of something that came up, and I don't think it will make it into the programme, but one of the things that really kind of is something that I've observed myself, I don't know if you've seen it, but you know how when everyone was talking about consent and how important consent is, and I'm like, by the time you get to consent, it's too late, because consent comes after you've decided what you want and what you're into and what you don't want and all of that stuff. But if we're unable to talk about and pick apart what you want and what you don't want, then what are you getting consent for? And I noticed towards the end of my career that I was getting more and more guys just phoning up and going, I just want domination. And I'm like, but what do you mean by domination? Because that's everything, right? And like there's stuff in there I know you don't want right off the bat.
Well, shut up and give me your credit card then. There you go. Thanks very much.
Okay, cool. So I'm really into ignore fetish. So you just turn up, give me money, and I ignore you completely. Is that what you want? Because that's domination. So, you know, being able to talk about it, and I believe, and it's not fact, but this is just a belief that I hold, is that if guys could, and women as well, were better at talking about what they want and what they don't want and being confident and just stating that, then a lot of uncomfortable situations could be completely avoided. Because a lot of the time, a lot of the guys I've met in my personal life, rather than ask, they just try things because they're like, I can't say it. I don't have the confidence to say it. And I've said to them, why did you do that? Oh, I was too embarrassed to ask. Right, okay, well then, like, that's the issue there. It's not the consent or anything like that. It's to do with you not being able to voice what you're into. So I don't know, is that something that you've seen?
Yeah, absolutely. It's this thing of like, you know, I see a lot of stuff, and I think it's an age-based thing as well. Like, you know, I hate to say it myself, I've been around the block a little, you know. I've been dating a long time.
And we all.
And it's not always a big block, is it? You can come across familiar characters. But for sure, I get really sick because I've dated both, like, people of all genders and backgrounds. And what I've found is, you know, this thing of wanting to blame again is like not letting yourself be vulnerable, not taking your own shit on, like not accounting for your own stuff. Like being accountable is a big thing. And I've gone back and said, you know, people going, oh, well, he did that to you. That was without consent. Is this assault? And I'm like, one, it's down to me personally how I feel. But two, I don't think we're very good at communicating, full stop. There's a big talk about rough sex, and there's a particular thing about choking. And I always encourage my male friends not to choke during sex and things like that. And that's one of those things. And then I've sat down with a lot of them. And one of the questions I realized I hadn't asked was kind of, hang on, are you enjoying it when you do that? And they're like, oh, it's just something you do. And I'm like, but are you getting, like, is it giving you the tingle when you're choking her? And they're like, not really. And I'm like, so she's not digging it. You're not sure whether she wants it. You don't want to do it. You've just watched porn, which you feel like you should probably watch as well. Maybe nobody do it and have a little chat and go, do you want a spoon instead? Like, do you want to try this way? Why are we all choking each other out? And it just became a consistent thing. And I apply it now to my sessions. And we talk about safe words. I'm always saying, like, safe words are more of a concept. They're a safety thing. They're for newbies. I don't find safe words come up very much in my sessions because I do communicate with people. And I always say as well, like, there's one for good as well. Like, you can say green for good is great. But amber, you can say, if you're just feeling a bit icky, like if it's not your vibe, like I'm not enjoying this, or I'm not actually like, or even like what you're wearing is a little bit, you know, like not down to the T, but if something's giving someone a different vibe, and I could be like, let's work on this together. You know, what do we want and where do we want to be? because it can just, things can click. And it's like you say, helping these guys find out what they want. And they often want some weird shit. So it's really good.
I love the weird ones
as well. Great.
Love the weird. I had one guy that I had to dress up like a fisherman, like a full fisherman's coat. And so the scene was, we were in a game show and it was Mr. and Mrs.
Right.
He was one of the contestants. I was playing his wife, who was disappointed because he didn't get the questions right. I was also playing the host. So I didn't have a microphone. I had a big black dildo, and I was also the crowd. So I was like, yay, boo, and all that. So I'm jumping between 3 roles. Amazing. And then I had to put him in. He got all the questions wrong. The wife's sorely disappointed. The host, me again, is asking the crowd, what should we do to him? I'm in the crowd, gunge him. And what do you think, wife? Yeah, fucking gunge him. He deserves it. And then I'm back to, in fact, make him wear my clothes. Oh, okay, that's interesting.
All right,
and then he's like, oh my God. And I'm like playing 3 roles with this fisherman outfit on.
Are you like wearing like full galoshes in this?
Like a big yellow coat.
Yeah, please say galoshes, because galoshes in a Scottish accent is a particular joy.
I'm gutted I didn't get to wear galoshes, but I wish I had. And so then I put him in the bath, and I was going to throw custard and stuff on him, but he wanted to be put in his wife's clothes. Now, you and I know that most of the time when guys want to wear women's clothes, it's lingerie, right? It's something a bit sexy, maybe a bit of satin. No, not for this particular gentleman. He wanted a woolly polo neck, which was baggy and down to here, and then a full length down to his ankles denim skirt that came up to here. He was the king of frump. And then he was in the bath, and I'm chucking stuff on him, and I'm like, he can't even feel that, because the clothes are so thick that he can't even feel that. And that was it.
Amazing. I mean, it's just amazing, isn't it? And then people go, really? That's weird. And you're like, the classic question, of course, being, what's the weirdest thing? But I'm like, we can't answer that now. And I don't know if you say this as well. I would say I can't, because what's weird to me isn't weird to other people. Now that just makes me go, wow, adorable, and sort of imagining, like, I'm thinking of the custard and all that clothing, that's quite difficult. Like, if it's just lingerie, you can wash that out, but that's going to ruin a yarn, and that's going to ruin.
I mean, those met the bin straight after, but I feel like, but yeah, like, I don't even know what weird is anymore. And I think that's why I really love coaching, because one of the things I say to people is like, listen, you can say whatever you want to me, and I'm not going to fall off my chair backwards, shocked. I've been up to here in an old man's arsehole. So whatever you say to me is, you're not going to make, I challenge you to make my hair stand on end. And that creates a nice kind of like jumping off point for people, I think. So
I think that's lovely. That's lovely when you can talk like that. And I think going back to the relationship I had that was significant, I think it was the first time I'd ever outside of the scene, and there's almost like a competitiveness with each other sometimes on who's had the weirdest shit. Like, I had that great ambition of shaking hands with someone inside someone's ass, which is like a thing that is done on videos. And I was like, I've got to do this. And I've
shook my own hand. Does that matter? Does that count?
Yeah, self-love is important.
If I was still doming, right, and we had the right guy, I would shake your hand inside someone's arse.
Thanks, man. That means a lot. Like, that's a special vow that not many people get to make. Like, and this is like in public as well now that you've told me, and that is a special closeness. I did get to do it recently, and it was pretty like, if I high-fived with the other hand, I felt great,
That's a bond that you create for life, I would say. If you've shook someone's hand and that's like a marriage to me. That's the kind of level that is.
I'm sort of imagining, like, this is awful, but like imagining at a funeral, like, how did you know each other? Well, we were particularly close. We shook hands inside Rodney's arsehole 2 years ago.
It's like some sort, like one of those Marvel movies where there's 2 characters that are just bonded for life, and it's like one of them, something happens to them, and the other one's like leaves the wife and kids and all that at home. No, I have to do this. Why do you care about this person so much? I shook their hand inside someone's arsehole, all right?
You don't understand that special. I'm just thinking, like, the Argos. You know how you get, like, are those Argos necklaces where it's a heart? Do they do those for, like, hands inside an anus? Like,
you need to.
We're missing a market here. Anus sisters. Anyway, I forgot my point, but that's too good. That's just,
Still a better
yeah, but I can remember
handshake.
saying to this guy who was outside the scene, just kind of a normal, well-spoken dude on our first date. And he knew what I did. And then to have a date with a dom when they know what you do,
Yeah.
which I'm sure you talked about on the TV program. I'm looking forward to watching that. Like most guys, you don't even make it to the bar, do you, or the restaurant or whatever, or to the park. And this guy quite happily sat there, and I sort of, had said to him, like, I'm sorry, like I took an extra long time because I had to reapply my fake tan without thinking about it. I had to reapply my fake tan because I had to scrub my arm because I'd set my hand in someone's ass earlier on, and I just didn't want there to be like a lingering thing. And then and realized I was doing this at the same time. And his face didn't change. He was like, yeah, well, I can imagine. God, that must be, yeah, like that would be terrible. Oh, well, let me get you a drink. And I was like, he's good. Yeah, he's good.
He
Takes
stay.
a certain kind of resilience.
Test passed, green light. Amazing. I love it. So we're going to, as if this hasn't been fun enough, I want to ask you some fun questions, right?
Okay.
And these questions are the ones that I love to ask all my clients because it really helps build perspective. But I love to ask just anybody that will let me ask this because I love hearing the answers to it, the breadth and getting to hear what's really important to people. So there's two things in life that are guaranteed. One of them is that we're all going to die one day. And the other thing is we have got no idea when, right? It could be in the next 10 minutes. We don't know. So if you knew that you only had 24 hours left to live, how would you spend them?
And this is about, and like you say, this is fun. This was the one that, like I say, kept me in the long, dark night of the soul, this one, because to be the utter buzzkill. I mean, when I had COVID, there was a point where I sat with my family and was like, I don't know, I don't know if I'm coming out of this. And certainly when long COVID struck me hard, I wasn't sure. I don't know if many people know about it, but there's a particular, like, they're calling it brain fog. Mm-hmm. And people are losing partial control of like their olfactory system. So like you lose your taste and your smell. But when you think about what that does to your brain and how it's affected me, there was a point, and I love a natter. I'm neurodiverse. I like words. I like being able to express myself. And I was losing that. I was losing that completely, and my memory and my ability to session was affected by that. So my brain was kind of going, and I thought, I don't know if this is going to deteriorate. So I kind of had to talk to my family about that. But also when I was very sick, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be alive, which was a huge thing. And then it did make me think about it, like, what would I do? And there were days that I kind of spent with my family, like this might be my last day, like particularly when I felt well. There was the odd day where I got a bit of a respite and I felt better. So I'm sure it's a common response as well. Like I just did everything ordinary. One, I didn't want to expose people who didn't need to know to my illness or what was going on for a long time. I didn't really tell people because I didn't want it to be any different. I didn't want any more change. I already knew that it was dangerous, and how much it was affecting me. But I just really enjoyed those little simple, those little crap conversations with my nephew about school and like TikTok and what he's doing this week. And, he's this great young man that's growing up and, ringing up my friends and, like you say, in the air, having a laugh and a joke. I think that's what I'd do. I'd get up early, watch the sunrise, which is always a pleasure. It's something I enjoy doing, pottle around to myself in my pajamas. I probably wouldn't get dressed, to be honest. I love a good pajama. So I fitted in lockdown very well. Eat some good food and, chat to people, share some pictures, and that'd be it. I think just speak to as many people as I could if it was 24 hours. Yeah.
And what would you do if you had a week? How would you spend a week?
Oh, this is the brain twister. I think with my family, because we have lost people to COVID over the pandemic, and we lost people quite fast, and we also lost people slow. So there was this feeling of like, oh shit. We all started to sort of prepare ourselves, and the thing that everyone started doing, because I've got quite a large family across different countries, we started talking to each other on Facebook, and we started collecting photo albums. And actually my nephew found one in a box a while ago. It's great. His autism's wonderful because he won't throw anything away without checking it, thank goodness. He found this great big photo album, and we went through that, and we've been collating it and like finding out who people are. And I think if I had a week, I would do that, put some videos together, some pictures, just because those memories are so important, and the conversations that they start are amazing. had my dad over at the weekend. I haven't seen him in 2 years. He was well enough to see me. I was well enough to see him. And that was very, as emotional as people from Yorkshire get, you know, sort of, all right, nice to see you, you know, very stoic. But we had a lot of conversation about who was in the pictures, and we were looking at some videos and stuff. And yeah, I think that's what I do in a week. I'd collate that and, you know, just check my friends were sort of checking how they're doing, if there's anything I can help them with that they've not told me about, you know, because I think people save stuff up, and just having those conversations, being open, reminiscing, that's the joy of it for me. I love it. Yeah.
I love that. And you said something there about people save stuff up, and what are we saving it for?
Yeah.
You know, what are we saving that moment for? What are we saving that thing that we need to say for?
It's
Just
crazy, isn't it? It's crazy. And it's like I said, I didn't tell the people around me that how bad I was with COVID for quite a while, because I'd moved from Bristol to Wales very quickly. I was finding my housing situation was difficult, and I was supporting my family. And I moved and then immediately got sick. And then the pandemic just happened. And nobody was really, you know, nobody really had time. Nobody could really process anything. It was getting really serious. And then what I suddenly did was I was like, I'm really sick here. And then I was able to stand up and talk. I started doing Facebook Live videos, funny enough, to communicate with my family. Brilliant. Yeah. And I mean, look at the first one. My face is out here. I'm wearing this awful, you know, and I'm just a real mess. And people don't really see me like that. I'm quite a vain person. And all my family and everything. And then my friends started saying, you know, I'd quite like to watch those. And it became like a COVID diary. And then it became about mental health, and it became about the conspiracy theories, and like not just giving practical advice, but talking about how we were doing. And I found myself every week kind of going on, like, or doing it sometimes a couple in a day, because showing people how COVID affected me mentally, physically, and emotionally. And then like responding to what people were saying to me, and my inbox was full. People were ringing. I'm talking to friends that I haven't spoken to since school. You know, things have rekindled just through really going, I'm just going to be really honest. And that was the thing that I'm sure you find, is that people said to me, I really appreciate you being so honest like that. That's great. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about feeling suicidal or being skin or being afraid. And I was like, I'm just here in my ugly ass pajamas, telling you all, coughing a lot. And yeah.
It's that's what people connect with though, because they're just like, right, okay, I can give myself a break now.
Yeah. They see you doing it, and particularly, you know, with these doms, these badass women. And I'm like, I say this to a lot of my clients, everything that you felt, I didn't hatch out of an egg somewhere being this amazing, you know, and I am pretty amazing. And that's the other thing, is people go, oh, people don't talk like that. You do, if you realize you're amazing, and just go, it's fine, I get to be amazing. And I had to learn all that stuff, had to face myself, you know, and it's fine. It's funny, it's weird, and it's finite. That's the other thing. Talk to each other.
And what if you had a year? If you had a year left, how would you spend that?
Well, this is where my ego kicked in massively, because and I think you sent me a few questions, and one of them was legacy, and this kicked in with that. Now, I've always done projects. I've been someone who's always done stuff to a point, and then I move on. This was the first job I've done where I look back and go, I don't know why I didn't do this job continually. I just love this job. It's like a calling. We've talked about that before, about why we're doing this. And then when it stops being fun, about not doing it anymore. But it can be a means to an end, and it's who you are. You can't fake this job successfully.
In here, it's like, I am Dom, and I will be till I die. I'm also coach, but I'm Dom inside and out.
Yeah, and it's like I say, it's really funny, because to me, like, I've loved watching your journey and going, yeah, there's so much other stuff I want to do, which is another thing COVID woke me up to, is this, you can just do loads. You don't have to do one thing. I don't mind my, you know, tattoo name being known. I don't mind people knowing that I'm a writer and things like that. And, you know, there's all these different projects I want to do, but around this. And I, most of all, don't mind people knowing that I'm a dominatrix, because I'm proud of it, and it does cause problems. But if I had a year, I think that would be the thing I'd want to do, is to put out videos, to create a community, to get people talking again about kink, and make it more, not accessible particularly, because we have to have safe spaces, but to create more understanding of it. I'm so tired of watching programs that alienate and mock and ridicule things that are so important to people. We don't have to be super Susan serious, but you can also, you know, take it on. I watched Gogglebox over lockdown. It was my little I don't watch telly very much. I've never watched any Bake Off on Ice or whatever, any of this stuff, right?
Okay.
I love watching those little people on their couches watch this shit. So I don't have to watch it. I can just see their little faces and being baffled by it all. And they're like these little, I don't know, some of them are quite amoebic. They don't know anything. And
I'd like to just watch a program of you watching Gogglebox.
Well, this is what my nephew says. It's going to be like that endless mirror of that now. It's going to be you watching them watch it, and then you'll be there and it all watching.
And then watch me watching you watching Gogglebox, and then
and this will be my plan: is to watch everyone in the end with me at the center of it. That's what.
The mirror can all the way back.
Damn it! You spotted it, Andrea. You're too insightful. You knew my plan. But they were watching, and there's this Tory couple who call each other Nutty. I think they're Mary and Giles. And they're so sweet, and they're watching this program. It's a Channel 5 one about real life pups. Mm-hmm. Now, I love puppy training within the kink world, and if people don't know about that, that's people dressing up as dogs, often involving rubber or latex because they enjoy that sensation, and they inhabit the space of being a dog, whatever that means to them, or puppies. And it's often about just relinquishing that control for a while, having kind of a grown-up playtime. And some people live like that 24/7. And then there's all different ways of doing it. And the program was about that. And some of the people's immediate response was like, oh no, you know, just no, just blanket no. Like if I came home and you were doing that, I'd divorce you. And it made me feel so sad and so protective of these pups, because I'm like, man, I have had some of my best afternoons, evenings, mornings with some CEO dressed as a puppy, you know, and calling him Fido. And and I actually have a puppy called Fido. And he's great, and it's so sad to me. And then this couple came on who are kind of quite twee, who you would thought would be the most sort of het up ones about it, and they were just sort of, that looks like it might chafe, you know. And it does, and I thought it was so sweet. And I just thought, just to have those spaces where you can talk about that stuff. And it's a thing a friend of mine does. She has a company called Interculture, and she creates safe online spaces for people to talk about race, religion. She does a thing called Black Women Talking, Muslim Women Talking. I'd encourage anybody to go on there, particularly if that's not your heritage, and go look at them retrospectively, because it's fascinating. There's so much to learn. And I'd like to do similar for the kink community, basically, is my long-winded.
Yeah.
There's many things I'd love to do in a year, but that particular I'd love to do. Okay, something that has legs and can run itself.
If I can help you make that happen, let me know, because I would love to help you make that happen.
I'd love to talk to you about it anytime. You know I'm getting on that plane, don't you? I'm going to be on there.
Yes.
That's done.
I'll leave the door open. Yeah, I would. That's something that I've been passionate about since I get into the kink scene. Is I was told at the start, keep it a secret, don't tell anybody, have a double life, and I was like, why? Because then people have power over me. If I haven't told people, then people can turn around and say, if you don't do this, I'm going to tell this person, or I'm going to tell your family, or I'm going to out you. And I'm like, I'm not putting myself in that position. So I just decided to be right out and proud about it. And then I realised that actually by doing that, and you know this yourself, when you do that, you create a space for everybody else to do it.
Yeah.
Because then they see bad things don't happen.
I get these people now going like, how do you do this? How are you so powerful? And my nephew's forever like, oh, she's at it again, you know. And they get all this thing of what if people see you online doing this to him? I'm like, obviously, you know, there's going to be videos of, I don't do that much online content, but some of the videos I've done are quite extreme. I'm quite an extreme dominatrix. Yeah. My wonderful friend Domina Gemma, who's been in the industry for 20 years, we were talking to a client and he was saying, Mia, oh, you seem very sort of classy online. I'm like, great. That's the image I'd love to get across. Now step into my studio and see what happens. Because I've always been kind of the classy man's dom. You can take me to Harrods, it's absolutely fine, but I'm still going to kick your ass in private. And I love that kind of, that flexibility to be, you can inhabit that space, the everyday world, but you can still do that and not be ashamed of it. There's videos of me doing all sorts of stuff online. but they're obviously not meant for my nephew, but I don't mind him seeing anything like this. He absolutely loves it. You know, I don't want him watching porn of me, of course, and that's what it is. But I don't mind him watching this and learning. And in fact, if anything, it just makes people better and more open. And some people just don't mind, you know?
Yeah. And yeah, definitely. And always, one of the things that I've always been really big about is education, not cancellation.
Yeah, for sure.
Tell people what they don't know. And then after that, if they still choose to be bigoted or, you know, cause problems, then that's a problem. But if if it's purely down to a lack of education, educate.
Yeah. I mean, I loved all your stuff on cancel culture. I felt that very strongly. I had some flack myself about stuff on Twitter that I won't go into because it was painful to have happen to me. And I felt very resentful of it. It nearly pushed me into a really unhealthy space with my thinking. But luckily, because I have people around me who I could turn around and go, is this me? And the people in question were like, no, that's not you at all. And they're representing our group. And I was like, okay, cool, cheers. And it was nice, but, you know, to think again about how I talk and like these public spaces and being like that. But yeah, like you say, when you're just strong and go, I don't know, tell me. Like, I don't know how I'm meant to know all this information all the time in your tone that's appropriate to you. And if you're getting really upset about it, what is upsetting you? Like, what is your offense?
Yeah.
You're getting upset about some guy in Swindon wearing a rubber dog costume. Why is that really essentially offensive to you? What's going on there?
Yeah, what's there for you that's offending you? Because sometimes some of this stuff's just none of your bloody business. And it's like, mind your business. And but yeah, totally. And okay, cool. So now that we've got your year down, if you could meet your 20-year-old self, what would you tell her? What advice would you give her?
Oh my God. I would say, yeah, it's so often about men or relationships. Had relationships with lots of different people, like I say, but I would say, like, yeah, boundaries again. Like, what do you want from this man? Just because they're in your life, what do you want from them? Like, and what do you want for you? Like, spend some time figuring that out. And do they fit into that? And they help. And also, don't worry about it so much. If they don't like you, don't worry about it too much. It's not personal. I said it to somebody on Twitter today, like, we're not the main character in somebody else's story most of the time. And if we are that, we don't actually want that. You don't really want that. It's not nice. Most people are just thinking about themselves, what's going on with them, their feelings. That's how we survive. So don't worry too much if people don't like you or they're not vibing with you right now. And in fact, if you show less concern, that tends to settle things and people can get on easier then. But I would just be like, watch those dudes. What do you want from this situation? Like, are you happy with that? What boundaries do you need? And yeah, like, oh God, 20, man. 20.
And what do you think your 90-year-old self would say to you if she could see you now?
Stop messing with your hair. She'd probably say, take the help. Take the help. I've still got terrible pride about accepting help. I've always been a hyper independent person. I've learned what that means this year. That means that you're unable to accept stuff. Take the help. Have, you know, like, go to the party and be careful. Leave when you want. Don't drink everything. Watch your drug and alcohol intake. Well done for that. I would always congratulate myself on that. And that's something you and I have talked about a lot, is addiction and those behaviors.
Yeah.
And though I've chosen not to engage in sobriety at the moment, like, I'm proud of the fact that I haven't engaged in some behaviors that people around me have, and I've always been conscious of that. But even to do that even more, like, not to give into that pressure when it's not something you want to do. But I think mainly she'd probably say, you know, just give yourself a break. Just give yourself a break, and, you know, shag the guy, go to the party, spend that extra bit of money, wear the fucking shoes. It's fine. It's fine.
I love it. So you mentioned legacy earlier, and this is a question that I love to ask people, and this is one of the things that really sparked off me getting sober and also running the trade union campaign and everything else. A question that got asked me was, see, if you died tomorrow, how do you think you'd be remembered? And that fucking hit me like a ton of bricks. And I'm like, I need to do more. I need to do something that puts some
Yeah.
good into the world. So what legacy would you love to leave?
I mean, I like that thought as well. And I think, like I say, going back to this relationship, falling in love with someone and then picking myself back up and going, I think I'm going to die here. Like, I feel like dead inside. I'll never be okay again. I feel awful. And there were those familiar options of drink and drugs and abandon and, you know, spending too much shit and distraction. And I just went, I can't distract myself from this anymore. I feel this so deeply. And I had to look at my legacy and go, well, if I'm not going to die, then I've not died from this broken heart. Though physically, you know, you feel like it, and mentally, you certainly, you change, don't you? You change. I went, well, if I'm going to live, then what am I going to do? Like, I saw a quote a long time. I talk in quotes a lot. I'm terrible for it, but I think it was a Tom Hardy quote. I don't know if he actually said this, but like, if you have a dream, then even when stuff's going really wrong, that will keep you company on those long dark nights, because anything else goes on, if you've got that vision, that dream, that goal. And I just kind of came up with it. And I, like I say, the legacy I think I want to leave is one of getting people to talk about their mental health more. Since I started doing those Facebook videos, my inbox opened up to people, and they were saying stuff to me that I wouldn't have expected to people, even talking to my own father. But like, through that transparency, through that discussion, and like you say, it doesn't have to be out there. Not everyone wants to know everything all the time. You can just mind your own business. But I'd like to leave the legacy of some kind of safer spaces for people to talk about their mental health proactively, without all the correct language or whatever, to be able to connect like that and build more community for sure.
Love it. And that leads me nicely on to your purpose for doing so. What's the why that's driving all of that?
Well, like I said, I think it's I didn't have a very easy start in life. My parents had a rocky road. My dad did the best he could, and I ended up being a foster child for a long time. I got myself through it. And people see that as very admirable and wonderful, and you know, like, you've done all this great stuff. But I'm like, I didn't. I was very lucky. I had great strangers come into my life, you know, I've always relied on the kindness of strangers thing. I did. But the other thing as well was, like, you know, it's not a nice place to be in, is resilience. People aren't strong by nature. It's a state of being, and you have to have that topped up. And I just don't want other people to go through that. I don't want people, you know, at 13 to be absolutely desperate and struggling for the rest of life. And I don't want someone at 35 to be retrospectively dealing with trauma. And I know people are, and people have had it much worse than me and all that. But I think it's nice if you can give yourself a break. And that's the why, is I just don't want people to feel how abandoned and left and awful I did at some points, because there's no need for it. Because there's no need. There's no need to go hungry, to go without clothes, and to go without community. That's why. And I've been treated very well by people who had no reason to do it other than just being fucking great people. And that's why I do it. Like, I owe that shit, and I'm passing it forward.
Oh my God. It's giving me like pure goosebumps.
You're included in that. I'm not trying to make you cry, but you know you're included in that. And I told you in my most Yorkshire stoic nice way of saying, you're bloody good you are, thank you very much, you know. And I don't say it enough, but this job is full of great people,
as are you. And so do you have any final advice for any women that are watching just now?
I think, like I said, that it's just a consistent thing. And I've started talking to young women more. Like, my nephew brings around his friends, some who are non-binary, some who are unsure about their sexuality. I've become, he was been watching Sex Education, and I keep being compared to the Gillian Anderson character in that. Like, man,
love that show. Love that show. Brilliant.
Well, you know, just telling a 16-year-old to go where to douche, and then that came up on the show. I was like, oh man, there's a whole poster you can get of it. And then it was on the show about douching, and I thought, oh, I'm kind of proud, you know. That's the big thing. But just, yeah, know your boundaries, but know what you want for yourself. Like, it comes back to that thing we said before. You can't tell other people what you don't want. You can't hold other people accountable unless you know what you want for yourself. It's a really super important thing to focus on. Never mind qualifications, never mind the job, the career, the fucking shoes, the purse, the hairstyle, being thin. Never mind all that. What do you really want? Like, what makes you happy? And it doesn't have to be, like, if you want 2 kids in a little bungalow, go for it. If that's what really makes you happy and in your vision, go for that, and that might change. or if you want the corner office, go for that. Don't let anybody else tell you something. Or if you're like me and you realize eventually that you kind of just want to wander around in life, living where you live, knowing who you know, and making enough money to get by, and you've no great lofty ambition, then that's cool as well, man. And that's all right. Just be decent. Yeah. That's my wandering advice.
It's just beautiful, man. Like, I'm so grateful for having you in my life and on here tonight. Like, you've just opened up a whole world of stuff for people, and for me as well. Like, the amount of nuggets that I've got, I'm going to watch this back and sit and take notes on it, because it's been pure gold. And
it's lovely talking to you as well. It's great, and you've opened my mind to stuff. Oh, the other thing as well is, I would say, please read books, read Gabor Mate, read psychology, read about psychopaths, read about narcissists. Just get that knowledge in there. Get that knowledge in there, and like, talk to people like yourself, you know, people who've been in recovery. There's a particular kind of wonderful aura that I love around people who, there's that kind of knowing nod of like, yeah, you walk through the flame.
it's like okay, because there's nothing you can say that's going to shock us. Like, I've peed beds. I woke up sharing a bed with a korma that had heated up in a blackout. Like,
the worst one night stand I've heard of in a while. Like, he was a korma.
It was a korma. But yeah, it's madness. So how can people contact you?
People can contact me through my website, which is bdsmmia.com. You can add me on Twitter, which is the same thing. And something that I love, that is another thing that I love to curate out of pure love. I'm still a strong visual artist. I love talking to other kinky creators, photographers. I love collaborating with people. And I love Instagram, and I really don't want to be kicked off there. So keep my account quite vanilla, but people can join me on Instagram, and it's BDSMMIA with dots in between the letters. So it's b.d. That's me. Please come and join me on there and share your work and your ideas and say hi. And yeah.
Excellent. Oh, thank you so much for the generosity that you've given and your sharing with everybody, and like, you're just so inspiring. It's been great, and I can't wait to...
I feel like a squeezed balloon. Like, I've had all this information in me all day, and now I'm like, I'll go have some carbs, some gluten-free carbs. And I hope as well, Andrea, that Andrea, I'm getting used to it, that you'll come back when I do my podcast. So I'm doing this podcast, which is called Read My Lips. I've got some really exciting people. I was just talking to Miss Kim Rubb about talking about erotic imagery. We're gonna, and this is the start of my journey into getting.
I'll need to get Kim on as well. Write that down.
Get Kim on for sure. She's amazing.
I'm going to chase Nira.
Yeah, for sure. You won't have to chase too hard. She'll be chasing you.
Oh, can't wait. She's just fucking great.
She's hilarious, man. She's hilarious every day. I get these great. I love WhatsApp voice messages, and like, if it's a 7-minuter, I'm like, right, I go get my cup of tea. I sit. I get my gluten-free toast, and I'm like, right, I'm ready for it. And if it starts with, all right, mate, I'm like, right, it's a good one. It's going to be a good one. I'm ready for it. Fucking comedy gold. I can't wait to get her on my podcast. I'm trying to get her to come on every few weeks on my podcast. So that's coming up. Read My Lips is coming up. I hope you'll come on and we'll have another laugh on there like this. Great.
Yes, absolutely. Amazing. Right, so we're going to wrap up, but you know how to get a hold of Mia, and I'm also going to put your contact details and things onto the comments or the description of the post. So if you've missed any of that, or you didn't manage to write it down, you didn't have a pen and paper, then don't worry, it will be there. But thank you everybody that's been watching, and yeah, I can't wait to come on your show. I can't wait till it comes out so I can promote the fuck out of it. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, man, and I hope that everyone who's enjoyed today comes on. I'm really open to questions, ideas, and if you want to make a bucket, if this is the start of a journey for you, this is the place, man. We're the people. Like, we didn't hatch out of an egg. We had to discover all that weird shit, and you know, we're anus. We'll be anus sisters one day, I'm sure. We'll have to have jackets. We need jackets.
I've got this badge, right? I know I'm supposed to wrap up, but I keep going. But I've got this badge that one of my friends bought as well, because we were on this coaching call, this like group coaching thing, and somebody said about having, you'd have brass balls to do that. And and it was her that said it, something about brass balls. So I just private messaged her and I was like, brass balls? Who wants brass balls? Brass vaginas, that's what you want. Vaginas fucking, they shoot out babies and just go back like it was nothing. They walk that shit off. So then we ended up searching for pins that were brass vaginas, right? I've got a brass vagina. It's on my vision board. The Brass Vagina Club, right? That's what we wanted to start. And it's like, it's a warrior vagina. It's got like a, and its hand, and it's on a horse. And it's just this vagina. Like, it's I need to send you a picture. I've said vagina a lot.
I really need to see a picture of that. Too sweet. That's amazing. Was that on Etsy?
It was on Etsy, yeah. It came from...
Everything on Etsy. Fucking love that place. That's the place, man.
Yeah, so we need to get, because what I'd love to have is like people, women all around the world have these brass vagina pins, and then we just meet each other in a bar one day, like in some obscure country, and then we just spot the badge and we're just like,
oh my God, like when we inevitably have gone to Handmaid's Tales, just for a bit, we were able to spot the vagina pin from a mile away. It'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Solidarity right there. Yeah, that you need to team up with that Etsy person, make that your merch, because that is, I immediately want one. I don't even care what it looks like. I want to see it, but I want one. Like I'm ordering.
I'm gonna text you a picture of it as soon as we get off here. But yeah, right, we are going to wrap up now, but thanks so much. And I'm just going to hit stop live, but I'll stay on for a wee minute, so don't go anywhere. Right, bye.